Welcome to the Oxford Real Estate Report. I'm Bill Rosenblatt with Rosenblatt Real Estate. Today's episode is catered to condo owners, especially those who are thinking about selling in 2026 or who simply want to understand what kind of market they're actually in right now. This episode is grounded entirely in real Oxford condo sales from the past 2 years. No national headlines, no internet opinions, actual closed transactions. Let's start with the most important takeaway up front. The Oxford condo market is no longer forgiving. It is still active, it is still healthy, but it no longer rewards optimism. It rewards precision. Over the last 2 years, condos in Oxford continue to sell, but the way they sold changed in meaningful ways. In 2024, many units sold close to list price. By 2025, buyers negotiated more frequently, price reductions became more common, and the margin for error narrowed significantly. This does not mean the market weakened. It means the market normalized. For sellers, that distinction matters. One of the biggest shifts we saw was in sale-to-list price ratios. In 2024, sellers often captured close to their asking price. In 2025, that ratio softened. Buyers became more selective, more patient, and more disciplined. And that tells us something critical. Buyers are no longer chasing listings. Listings must earn buyers. There is one caveat in the condo sales data from the past 2 years that sellers need to understand because it explains why some units sold effortlessly while others negotiated. Not all condo sales in Oxford occurred the same way. A portion of the strongest sale-to-list ratios came from off-market, new condo developments that were pre-sold or reserved during construction. These units were often under contract before they were ever fully exposed to the open market. Sellers need to understand this. Buyers of off-market condos were not reacting to listings. They were responding to early access. In these situations, sellers weren't competing against other listings. They weren't being compared line by line on price per square foot. They weren't sitting on the market accumulating days and inviting negotiation. Instead, those sales happened in a controlled environment with motivated buyers who wanted certainty and scarcity, not leverage. This matters because it tells us something critical about the Oxford condo market. Demand is not weak. Demand is selective. When buyers believe they are seeing something early or something limited or something not broadly available, they are far more willing to meet pricing expectations. That same buyer, shown the same unit after it has been publicly listed for weeks, behaves very differently. The takeaway for condo owners is not that new construction has an unfair advantage. The takeaway is that presentation and timing matter just as much as price. Let's proceed into our next section, understanding that Oxford has multiple condo markets. These markets behave very differently from each other. Understanding which one you're in determines whether your condo sells smoothly or becomes stale. Let's break this down from a seller's perspective. If your condo falls into the lower price range, typically older developments or smaller units, your buyer pool is extremely price sensitive. These buyers know the comps, they know the ceilings, and they will not stretch just because inventory feels tight. Over the last 2 years, sellers in this range who price accurately sold. Sellers who tried to push beyond recent sales almost always paid for it later, either with longer days on market price reductions or weaker negotiating outcomes. For sellers here, the market sends a clear message. You cannot overprice and expect the market to meet you there. If your condo is in the mid-range, often newer townhomes or well-located units with better finishes, the market has been more forgiving, but only to a point. This segment performed the most consistently over the last 2 years, but it also faces competition from new construction. Buyers compare resale units directly against newer product, even if they're not identical. For sellers in this range, pricing must account not just for past sales, but for what buyers can buy instead today. Overpricing doesn't just slow your sale. It quietly shifts leverage to the buyer by the time you finally negotiate. If your condo is in the upper end or luxury category, the rules are different, but they are not easier. These condos do sell in Oxford. We saw consistent high-end transactions over the last 2 years, but these buyers are deliberate. They analyze price per square foot. They compare condos to single-family alternatives. They care deeply about location, finishes, and long-term value. For sellers here, the market will not rush to meet your number. It will wait for your number to make sense. Now let's talk about seasonality, because this trips sellers up every year. Yes, spring and early summer remain the busiest periods in Oxford, but here's the critical change. High activity no longer guarantees strong leverage. In 2025, some of the busiest months still showed softer sale-to-list ratios. Condos sold, but only when sellers price realistically. Seasonality helps exposure. It does not fix pricing. This leads to the most important advice I can give condo sellers heading into 2026. The penalty for overpricing is no longer just time. It's negotiating power. When a condo sits, buyers don't assume it's unlucky. They assume it's overpriced. And once that perception sets in, even strong offers come with stronger terms for the buyer. The sellers who performed best over the last 2 years weren't the ones who chased the top of the market. They were the ones who priced correctly from day one and forced buyers to compete within reality. So what does this mean if you're considering selling? First, don't anchor your expectations to peak market pricing from earlier years. That market is gone. Second, don't rely on seasonality or scarcity to carry your deal. Buyers are informed and patient. Third, understand exactly which condo segment you're in and price for how that segment behaves, not how you wish it behaved. The Oxford condo market heading into 2026 is not weak, it's disciplined. And disciplined markets reward sellers who understand them early. That's how you protect value. That's how you preserve leverage. And that's how you sell without unnecessary concessions. If you want data-driven insight into what your specific condo, development, or price range is likely to do in 2026, that's exactly what we do on this show. Make sure you subscribe to the Oxford Real Estate Report on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. And if you want a breakdown of your particular condo segment, send it in. I'm happy to dig into the numbers. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.